Take 2000. Hi friends, and welcome back to this channel. You can call me bestie, you can call me shiny, you can call me shine, you can call me weirdo, naru sarko shepo. You better put your sneakers on, put my sneakers on. Hanadu already gets it. Go. That is so embarrassing. But we're not going to stop recording because I have done that so many times. We're not going to do it again. So we're just going to jump right into the video. And for today's video, it's a very juicy one. We're going to talk about all the bad books, some that enrage me, others were just duds. Like, they were just bad. Like, no. You get what I'm saying, right? That's what matters. If I'm looking down, I'm going to open up my story graph. Go follow me on story graph. It's the same, Shiny's Wondrous Library. I'm gonna go over to story graph because I cannot remember for the life of me. So I'm going to talk about books that I gave less than 3 stars. So in my mind, 3 stars was like a okay book, but less than 3 stars, we don't like her. We don't like them. So we're gonna talk about those books, right? So should we start at the worst? No. We should save the worst for the last. So we're gonna start with, I have 2 books that I gave 2.5 stars to, 4 books that I gave 2 stars to, and 1 book that I gave absolutely 0 stars to. And yes, you can do that on Storygraph. I know you cannot do that on Goodreads, but you can do that on Storygraph. You can give 0 stars. Like, I absolutely hate you. Not even a single star worthy. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What am I doing with my hair? I do not know. Okay, let's start with my 2.5 stars. Like I said, if I'm looking down, please don't mind me. I'm looking at my Storygraph. Can you see? Oh yeah, you can definitely see. Okay, we have 2 books that I gave 2.5 stars to. The first one is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This book, oh my god, this book, I was told, I was misled to think that it was like an emotional, heart-wrenching, but also heart-touching. Is that a word? It's a very touching, heart-wrenching, cozy, emotional, sad, but also hopeful tale of love and loss and regrets, because it's about time travel. This, if you don't know, is a book about a time traveling cafe. There's like a collection of 4 short stories, but they're very highly related, so it almost feels like a full-length novella, not like a novel. My back is aching. And we're following 4 characters in these 4 different short stories. And I don't know if it's just the translation, like, you know how sometimes you cannot accurately translate the words or the emotions in one language into any language. Like, there's so many languages that just cannot be translated into another language. There's so many words in some languages, and it might just be the translation that kind of did not transfer all the emotions and the depth of the story. But it was such a dud, I swear. Oh my god, it was so bland. It was so bland. Emotional wasteland. Where's the emotions? If you know me, if you know anything about me, if you should know anything about me, I cry so easily. Like, I cry so easily. All I need is to get attached to the characters, and even the twinge of sadness they feel, I'll bawl my eyes out. Is that a phrase that is normally used by normal human beings? I am not aware of that. Why do I speak like that? I swear I'm not. Okay, never mind. It was very boring, and oh my god, one thing that really irritated me was, you know, when the rules of the cafe. So there are these rules in the cafe, in order for you to time travel. and they are that you can go back in time, but you have to stay within that cafe. So you can only visit people who have also visited the cafe in the past. And you have to come back to this timeline before your coffee gets cold, hence the title. And you have to sit at a particular chair where a ghost is already seated, and she will not give you her chair. So you have to wait for her to go pee, essentially. You have to wait for her to go to the toilet, washroom, bathroom, whatever. Um, and only then can you slip in and take her seat. And only when you're sitting in that seat can you time travel. And there's one more rule that oh yes, you cannot change anything in your past. You can just visit, but you cannot change anything. All cool, all cool. But the ways the rules are explained got on my nerves. Like, it's so childish. Like, especially when the chair where the ghost is sitting, the part of the rules that is explained that you have to sit in that specific chair for you to time travel, that is just explained so badly. So our main character just goes and demands that the ghost gets up, and the ghost is like, no, I'm not getting up. And so she basically tries to pull. I mean, I read this like many months ago, or maybe more than 6 months ago, so I don't remember exactly, but I remember just the vague idea of it. So I might get some things wrong, so please don't you know as I was saying, she tries to pull the ghost from her seat. And our cafe hostess, like, what is it called, barista, basically the person who runs the cafe, she's like, oh, don't do that, don't do that. She could have just told what would happen if you do that. You know how normal human beings talk. I am very aware of that. That was bad. Yeah. You know, she could have, you know how normally in that situation anybody would have, what somebody would have said is, oh, don't do that. That ghost is gonna put a curse on you. No, no. I mean, barista is like, don't do that, 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 just that. I don't know, that irked me. Like, I don't think I'm doing a good job at explaining this part, but it kind of irritated me a little bit. But I was like, okay, I'm willing to look past that. I'm willing to look past that. It's okay. It's a way of storytelling. It's a choice that was made, but I don't like it. But nevertheless, you know, not only did I not connect with the story or the characters, it felt very bland and very superficial, dare I say. Um, I don't know. I just feel like maybe that's because I did not connect with the characters, and that might just be me. I was really looking forward to having a good, cathartic crying session reading this book, and I was given none of that. And I actually want to read you the funniest part. So I take notes on my Notion, right? I need to read you out the funniest part of this book, and I want you to tell me if I am the only weird one who has this. I have to sign into Notion? What do you mean? It's nice. We are signed in. Okay, so one of the stories is that one of our main characters, she's called Kay, and she is told that, I mean, we are told that she has a congenital heart, or she has just a heart issue. We're not told what heart issue she has, and she's married to Nagare. I hope I'm not mispronouncing it. And their sister or sister-in-law or cousin, or oh yes, I think she's a cousin of Nagare, and her name is Kazu. Um, okay, so the three of them are running this cafe. So at some point, Kay gets pregnant, even though she's been told by her doctors that if she gets pregnant, because of a heart issue, she is not going to survive the pregnancy. Like, they might be able to save the child, but she's not going to survive it, and she still chooses to get pregnant. I mean, that's your choice. That's good for you. But what irritated me was not that. What irritated me was, so she's going to her gynecology, OBGYN appointment, right, to check on her pregnancy. And we are told Nagare is alone at the cafe managing one day because Kazu went with Kay for her first OBGYN appointment. Like, the husband did not go with the wife and instead sent his cousin with his wife. And that is fine. I'm willing to look past that. But I feel like, wouldn't it be more normal for the husband to go with the wife and the cousin to manage the cafe? But they gave a reason as to why the husband Nagare did not go with the wife Kay, who is pregnant with their child. Okay, I'll read it out to you, okay? Kay had needed to go to the gynecology clinic, so Kazu had driven her there. Normally, Nagare would take Kay to her regular checkups because she has some heart condition. She has regular checkups. Normally, Nagare goes with Kay for her regular heart checkups, but he did not go with her for her OBGYN checkup. Okay, normally Nagare would take Kay to her regular checkups, but today was different. He considered the gynecology clinic to be a sanctuary for women only, where no man should venture. That was why he was manning the cafe alone, and he sent another woman, Kazu, with his wife. Do you get how weird that is? Do you get how, oh my god. This is a line in the book. Like, he considered that the gynecology clinic he considered the gynecology clinic to be a sanctuary for women only, where no man should venture. I'm sorry. I am mad on Kay's behalf. If you're pregnant and you're going to your OBGYN checkup, wouldn't you want your husband to accompany you? And he's like, no, I am feminist. I am not going to accompany her to a woman's sanctuary, and I am a man. I'm not going to go to a woman's sanctuary and pollute it. No, I'm exaggerating, but that was like, what? I, I, I just don't get it. I just don't. What the fuck? What the fuck, Nagare? What do you mean that no man should venture to an OBGYN clinic? What do you mean, sir? What do you mean? What the fuck? Oh my god, that is so stupid. That is so stupid. Oh my god, I cannot get over it. No. And I have ranted about it. Like, excuse me, sir, what the fuck? You should take your wife to her OBGYN appointment when she's pregnant with your child. In fact, it's weird that you didn't go. But the explanation that you gave, uh, no, absolutely not. That's just weird. I don't know. I don't know if it's a Japanese sentiment. I don't think. In which case, am I being ignorant, insensitive, racist? I don't know, but I just think that is a little, I don't know, odd. I don't know. That was funny. Anyway, that was I gave it 2.5 stars. It was not a fun rate. It was, no. Okay, the next book I want to talk about, I listened to an audiobook, obviously, was Bookworm by Robin Yetman. I don't know. This book had so much potential, y'all. Oh my god, it had so much potential. It's about this woman. I think she's in her 30s or 40s. I'm not quite sure. Did I even read this book? I think she's in her 30s. Yes. She's in her 30s and she's married in an unhappy marriage. So she meets this, she's obsessed with reading books, right? And so she's at this cafe reading a book, and she sees another man reading the same book, and she instantly feels a connection. This book is not romance. It is, on Storygraph, it says it's contemporary romance. I would not even say it's romance. It is, I don't know. It's not a romance book. In my mind, romance books are supposed to be like, they can talk about harder, difficult issues, but like it's overall supposed to be somewhat lighthearted. She sees this other guy reading the same book at the cafe and she gets obsessed. She's not in love, she's in obsession. She is infatuated, she's obsessive over this guy. And she kind of borderline stalks him. And she does get in a relationship with him, and she cheats on her husband. And this sort of paranormal magical realism thing about it, wherein she can travel during her dreams. This is full on going to be a spoiler, because what I hated about this book was the last 1%, the absolute ending of it is what I hated. So obviously it's going to be a spoiler if I have to tell you why I hated it. So if you don't want to read it, or if you have already read it, or if you're just too curious for your own good well-being, she's obsessed with this guy, and she does this dream thing, and she manipulates her best friend and her husband in a way where the whole story ends up where where her best friend ends up killing her husband, right? So it's her moving the chess pieces, and her best friend and her husband are both chess pieces, and she basically kills her husband with her best friend through her best friend, right? All that's fine. Even that was fine. It's crazy wackadoo behavior, but fine. Crazy people, unhinged people. I like reading about that. I mean, I felt really bad for the best friend and the husband, actually. Although she does suspect that they both are hooking up. Basically, her husband is cheating on her with her best friend, but she's also cheating on him. Like, oh my god. But the ending, it's like, it becomes like, oh yeah, cool, all nice. So she gets rid of this badass husband, and her best friend who was hooking up with her best husband, she gets rid of both of them. Her best friend goes to jail, and she ends up with the love of her life that she met at the cafe. Nice. It ties up with a nice little bow on it. I'm like, she manipulated her husband and her best friend and basically killed one and ruined the other's life. They might not be good people either, but she is not a good person either. She's a manipulative person. She is unhinged. Don't try to frame it as, oh yeah, it was all done, and now she's just happy and she ends up with this man, and she's obsessive towards this man. That is not love. And that man has commitment issues. Like, he is not ready to commit, but they end up together. That no, if it had ended with her grappling with the guilt of having ruined her best friend's life, essentially, and having, in a way, caused her husband's death, but also kind of trying to deal with her cheating on her husband and probably her husband cheating on her with her best friend, and also how she got obsessed with this guy, but then he did not want to commit to being with her, and how basically her obsession with this guy was not really love, but it was just her way of, I guess, getting out of her stifling life, out of her unhappy marriage. I wanted to go to therapy. She's not okay. Okay? She's not okay. The way she behaves is not fine. I wanted to go to therapy and deal with all this. And I don't want it to, above all, end up with that guy. So I was pissed. I mean, until the end, until she ends up with that guy, I was still on the train. Like, I was still like, ooh, unhinged, crazy story. She's also kind of I mean, she's very manipulative. I hate saying crazy, but like, I'm saying it with all the love. But then the ending was not it. If it had ended the way I had told, I would have given it 5 stars because it was so good. In between, it was a little slow when she's kind of obsessive over her husband. I mean, over this guy, and she's just kind of trying to imagine all the ways she can kill her husband. It kind of got a little slow because nothing really happened. But I'm all for character-based stories. It was fine. I loved it. I would have given at least 4.5. No, 4.75. 4.5 to 5 stars. And the ending brought it to 2.5. It was so bad. It was so bad. No, 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 I don't like it. I don't like it. Oh, yeah. Throughout the book, the kind of digging on a little life. And my decision, my opinion will be very biased. It's not an unbiased, neutral, logical, like understandable opinion on this book, because I have not read it and I will never read it, because I saw a Clockwork Reader, Hannah from a Clockwork Reader's vlog reading it, and I saw how much she was traumatized, and I was like, yeah, I don't like this book. I'm not gonna read it. Mm-mm. And throughout this book, they're kind of digging, like they're gonna talking shit about that book, A Little Life. So I was like, that was funny, hee hee, funny. So much wasted potential. That's exactly how I feel about it. It was bad. That is Bookworm by Robin Yeatman, right? Let's talk about 2-star reads. It happened one summer. I listened to this in audiobook. I'm sorry, where is the chemistry? It's a romance book. Where is the chemistry? There was a lot of sexual tension, I agree. So the first time so the first part of it, I was like, okay, yeah, there's something between them, like there's sexual tension, fine. They hooked up, and I was like, yeah, all of that got dissipated. I'm cool. Can we move on? But they still hold on, and he infantilizes her. You can fight me on that. No, you cannot. I will not change my mind, because constantly she's telling him, this is just sex, this is just physical, I am not in love with you, I am not going to be in a relationship with you, this is just physical. And he's like, no, this is, you love me. I don't like it. Like, she clearly tells him this is just physical. Like, even if, let's say, in her mind she's like, oh, I love this guy, but then she's not ready to commit, and she's telling him this is just physical, I'm not ready to commit to a relationship with you, I am only having sex with you. And he's like, no, you're in love with me, you will stay here with me. I'm like, oh, he doesn't force her to stay, but like, he's like, you are in love with me, don't make this into something superficial, just physical. Piper, you are in love with me, this is so much deeper than just sex. I'm like, bitch, what? I like Piper as a character. I really liked how she makes friends with the small town members of the community. And again, is this a spoiler? I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler, because can you guess? Okay, this book is about this socialite, like Instagram influencer, like popular rich girl. She gets into some scandal or something, and she gets sent off to the small town to live for the summer, so that she can learn her lessons, apparently. And obviously, she falls in love with somebody at the small town, and obviously, she stays. Yeah, so she chooses to stay in the small town, and that I felt like was a very authentic decision. Like, it made sense for her by this time in the story. Like, throughout the story, there are things that happen, and by the end of it, it makes sense for her to stay in that small town. Like, I'm like, I understand. Like, the love story was very lacking. It was a lust story. There was no chemistry. The guy was bland as raw fish. I do not know how raw fish is, but he's a fisherman, so I thought that would fit. Um, Brendan, his name is Brendan. It was very bland. I did not hate him. I did not like him. Piper was nice. There was no chemistry. I think it was unnecessarily long. I think it's almost 11 hours. I'm like, a contemporary romance should not be that long. In my very humble, very honest, the objective truth opinion, it is 385 pages. In my opinion, no romance book should be over 300 pages. I mean, at least contemporary romance should not be over 300 pages. Every one of those 85 pages was a drag. It was boring. I was literally sitting and I was like, when will this end? I just want to finish it. I'm so close to the end. I don't want to DNF it. I don't hate it. It was so boring. It was so boring. There was nothing. male female absurdity. Oh my god, yeah, I completely forgot about it. There were so many things that were described as, oh, his male body, his male scent, as though we're like gorillas in the like, I don't know, it was just a little weird. It wasn't, it did not irritate me per se, hence I don't remember it, but it was just like, oh, yikes, a little weird, a little bit weird, you know. That was It Happened One Summer. Okay, let's move on to the next book. This was a Wattpad book that I read on Wattpad, obviously. It's called The Witches on Bellarow Street by L.J. Niyar. This is pitched as this coven of four black witches, and they basically try and solve a murder mystery. There were so many plot holes, loopholes. It was boring. That's all I have to say. It was very boring. It was. I don't know what I expected. I mean, but I have read quite a few really good Wattpad books. I mean, at least in my opinion, really good Wattpad books. So I was like, just because it's on Wattpad doesn't mean it's bad. It's not necessarily always bad, you know. That was my reasoning, but it was honestly bad. I don't have anything against it. It was just there was I don't really remember exactly, but I remember thinking there's a lot of plot holes, and it was quite boring, and it was dragged out a little unnecessarily. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I gave it 2 stars. I honestly feel very bad being mean to Wattpad authors because I feel like I know them a little more personally than like published authors because they're like very very small number of people have read it. And I feel very bad. I don't know. So we're gonna move on. We're not gonna be very mean to that book. I read In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. This is about this hotshot lawyer. She has her life in order. She's engaged. She has a house. She's cool. But one day, she dreams. I think the night she gets engaged, she dreams of it's a premonition about what's going to happen in 5 years. Uh, and she wakes up in a totally random guy's bed, and they basically hook up. And she has a different engagement ring than the one she has right now. And so we follow her throughout and see how she reaches to that point where she's in a different man's bed and is engaged to that man essentially. Which sounds very good. The premise sounds very good, but the execution was, needless to say, extremely disappointing. Because, okay, I think it's going to be spoilery. It's going to be spoilery. Because how can I tell you what I hated about it when what I hated about it is indeed a spoiler? So, spoiler alert for pretty much all books, I would say. So they basically kill off her best friend with cancer. But I loved the part of it where she's bonding with her best friend, and we're exploring their friendship and the grief and the roles they play in their friendship, each of them. That was really well done, in my opinion. I really felt for it. I cried. But then, see, the story is basically like at the starting, you're told what's going to happen at the end of 5 years. And then we're going through this. And then there's this part until where it makes sense. And then this part where this random stuff is supposed to happen. And there's no link between them. As an author, you're supposed to make a link between them for me to understand that throughout the course of these events, wherein this did not seem probable at the beginning, throughout the course of these events, it slowly becomes, it comes to make sense for it to occur at this point in 5 years. But that was so badly done. Like, you kill off the best friend, and I mean, I guess people handle grief differently, and there should, I guess, be really no shame in how people handle grief. But we're just told that the best friend dies, and Oh, I forgot the main point. Like, so she dreams of this guy that she is with at the end of 5 years. She's never seen this guy before. And literally a couple of days later, her best friend introduces her new boyfriend, and it's that guy. I honestly cannot remember his name. Okay? So she basically had a dream of her being with her best friend's boyfriend before she even met her best friend's boyfriend. So how does she how does that dream come to reality? Her best friend dies, and they have this collective grief between her and her best friend's boyfriend, and they just hook up to, I guess, dissipate the grief. And the engagement ring that she's wearing, the different one, is her best friend's. That best friend and her boyfriend are so in love, and through the story it does not make sense for him to hook up with his ex-fiance's best friend immediately after his ex-fiance dies of cancer, and they've been grappling with this amount of grief, watching her slowly pass away amidst them. Like, it just did not make sense. It was very, very poorly done. Bad taste. Till the end it was fine. The ending was just disgusting. It was bad. it, it was badly done, even. It was just bad. And that's my opinion. Let's go over to Notion and see what I said. First half was boring as fuck. His name is Aaron, and her name is Danny, and the best friend who dies of cancer is called Bella. Aaron and Danny's relationship seemed so out of character and forced. Like I said, the end it did not make sense. I fucking loved Bella and Danny, but the ending was bullshit. I still stand by that. That was what I thought about in 5 years. It was so badly done, so much potential wasted. Oh, so bad, so bad. The next book I want to talk about is I still give 2.2 stars to. We're still in the 2 stars category. An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. Margaret Rogerson has written A Sorcery of Thorns, and that is so many people's favorite book. And I found this on audiobook, An Enchantment of Ravens. I was like, I wanna give this author a try. And it's essentially a romance novel between this artist, this painter, and this head of some fairy court, spring court. I honestly cannot remember. Wherein she paints him, a portrait of him, and she portrays a human emotion of grief, sadness, God only knows, fear. No, I think sadness. And so he's like, "Oh, you have painted sadness in my eyes in my portrait, and now all of my opponents are gonna think I am weak, and so they're gonna throw me off. So as a punishment, and to show that I'm not weak and meek, I have to take you to my fairy court, and I don't know what I'll do with you. I have to take you." So she goes. I mean, this sounds an awful lot like Akatar, like, oh, but okay. And they fall in love. Mind you, she's maybe 16, maybe 20. Honestly, I could not tell. And he's thousands of years old, maybe hundreds. Big difference. And they fall in love. I'm sorry, there was no chemistry. And it was boring. It was very boring. And in between, this might just be my mistake, because I tend to tune out often when I'm listening to audiobooks, and I just listen enough for me to make sense of the story, so I might have missed this. But in between, we're told this plot point that our main character, her parents were killed by these wild rogue beasts that have been roaming around for years now, and they should not, be roaming around in human lands, but they are. So they do encounter one of these wild rogue beasts at some point when they're trying to go to the Supreme Court, and we're left at that. I'm like, why are these wild rogue beasts roaming the lands And why are they going venturing into the human lands and killing humans? Like, are we just gonna leave that? Are we just gonna drop that and just kind of focus on the romance when there is no romance? Where's the romance? It was so boring, so bland. It was just like, I think I should say I did like the writing. Like, it was very immersive, but it was, yeah, no, I don't hate it. It was just like, you want me to honestly believe this guy has this fairy king has lived for thousands, hundreds of years, and he falls in love with a tiny little mortal girl who's maybe at the maximum 20 years old. You want me to believe that? That he's wise and he's a fairy king? No, no, it was boring. It was boring. Well, let's see what I have said about this book. Aggressively average, unconvincing love story. Also, what happened to the unusual fairy beasts lurking around? Like I said, what about that? So we've talked about, moving on. We've talked about my 2.5 as well as my 2 stars. I have given no books less than 2 stars except one short story that I read on Amazon Prime Kindle. I gave it 0 stars. Do you want to know what it is? Drum roll. It's honestly my mistake. Okay, I just read the premise, not realizing that it's a short story. It's like maybe 30 pages, maybe 50. I do not know. It's a very, very short story. And it's called The Bookstore Sisters by Alice Hoffman. The premise of this sounded so interesting to me because this is about these sisters who have recently or somewhat recently lost their parents. And one sister is staying at their small town and she's taking after their bookstore that their parents had and have left it to them. And the other sister is in a different city because she wants to get out of this small town. It's been her thing from when she was young. She doesn't want to live in this small town. She wants to get out into the world, but she's having a hard time making money in the big world. Big whole wide world is mean to her, and so and there's some thing that happens to the sister who stays back at home and is taking care of the bookstore, and she needs help. So her sister moves back in with her and her niece, essentially. So it's the bookstore sister, her daughter, and the little birdie who flew away from home, coming back home, essentially. And it's about this family drama, this sisters, having this baggage of family drama. Family drama is all I wanted. Okay. And I got a preachy book instead. Maybe a big part of what I did not like about this was it was so short that so many of the concepts, so many of the themes that it took up, it could not even handle within those 30 pages or 50 pages or how many ever, 36 pages. It took up so many things that it cannot handle in 36 pages. So it tries to kind of resolve all of them immediately, which is fine. I mean, I guess I should have expected that, knowing that it's a short story. But what I hated about it is this is full on spoilers. It's 30 pages. How am I not going to spoil this for you? So this, oh my god, I don't even get names. Honestly, I should just take up names because I should just look up names. Okay, we have Isabel, who's the little birdie who flew away from home, and we have her sister Sophie. Okay, her name is Sophie, and we have Sophie's daughter. I think her name is Violet, so I'm gonna call her Violet. Okay, so basically Isabel moves back in because Sophie had an accident and she has a fracture or something, so she cannot take care of her daughter as well as the bookstore at the same time. So Isabel moves it back in with Sophie and Violet. And Sophie has spewed so much shit about Isabel to Violet that Violet starts speaking really rudely, really mean to her aunt. She's like, "You're a bad person because you left home." I'm like, if she wanted to go to a different city to make a life of her own and not look after the bookstore and live in the same path, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't want to follow the same life as her parents, and she wants to live a different life. Like, what? Why does that make her a bad person? But Violet, full on, not just Violet, Sophie, and everybody in this small town is like, Isabel is such a bad person for leaving us. And you know what the worst part is? The book makes it obvious that that is the author's idea as well. And Isabel is like, "Oh yeah, I've been such a bad person for leaving, wanting to have a life of my own." And she's like, "Oh, I've been such a bad person. No, I have to become a good person." And she becomes a good person and she stays back. What honestly I think is more realistic is if Isabel holds a grudge on her. Sorry, Sophie holds a grudge on Isabel for being the one to be able to take off, even though Sophie as well wants to. You know what I mean? Like that kind of drama. When Sophie feels the need to stay back because Isabel is not going to stay back and somebody has to look after the bookstore. And so she's having to make the sacrifice. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? In fact, I don't even think Isabel is being selfish because when Sophie needs her, she does come back home to help her. And to think is Sophie has been talking to her teenage daughter, Violet, from when she was younger, spewing such poison about her aunt. Mm, to a point where Violet is so comfortable talking, so badly of Isabel. That was just really bad. And it's framed in a way that is like Isabel has been so bad, so bad. Everybody's like, Isabel, bad girl. And Isabel is like, oh, see, I've been bad. I have to become good. So she takes up baking and she stays back. I mean, honestly, it's fine. Like I said, in It Happens One Summer, it can make sense for characters that want to live in a bigger city to choose to live in a smaller town. It makes sense for characters to do that, but it should make sense for them to do that. It should honestly kind of, that might just be because it's a very small book, and they could not, the author could not have possibly made that gradual transition for the main character to feel like, I want to stay back and I want to live with my family here and look after the bookstore. But that was not there. And not only, oh my god, my problem was not even that Isabel stayed back. My problem was that Isabel is constantly framed as being the bad person for wanting to leave and wanting a different life from what was forged for her when she was, ever since she was young. And she accepts that she's been a bad person and she changes into a good person. And what bullshit is that? I don't know. It was very bad. It was very bad. I hated it. I hated it. So bad. I'm like, if it was longer, I would not have read it at all. I would have just DNF'd it. On Notion, I've written, I don't like how Sophie would have basically badmouthed about Isabel to her daughter for a 11-year-old to be so judgmental. Violet is 11. She's not even in teenage. She's a preteen. What's so wrong about leaving? What's so wrong about wanting to leave? Like, I agree. Like, if Sophie just abandons her family, even when they are in a time of need, that is wrong. Like, I would say that is wrong. But then, like she does come back to help her sister out when she needs it. Like, I don't know why you have to shame her, why you have to, no. I hated it. It was so bad. It was more like a very preachy, like, oh, you should not leave. I don't even know what it preaches. It's kind of very, I don't know. The point of the book for me in my head, it felt like, oh, see, she left. She wanted a different life for herself. How dare she? That was so bad of her. I know. Everybody tell her she's bad. Isabel bad. And so Isabel like, oh, I'm bad. Okay, I'll take up baking. I'll become a good person. I'll stay back and look after the bookstore. I mean, like, cool. I would love for you to take up baking and stay back and look after the bookstore, but not in this way. I mean, it should make sense for you to do that. No, I don't know if I'm making sense the way I'm talking about it. I don't really know if I'm making sense. How long have I been recording for? I really cannot tell. It's probably been an hour or more than that. So that was all the books that I hated. I do have a couple of books that I did not hate, but I did not like enough for me to DNF them. One I read on Amazon Prime books, like on Kindle. You can Kindle the app, not the device. You can find books that are free if you have Amazon Prime. My dad has Amazon Prime, so I sign into his account and I can read some books on Prime for free. It's not like Kindle Unlimited. It has a more lamer and smaller collection than Kindle Unlimited. So one of the books that I found there was The 3 a.m. Shattered Moms Club by Nina Manning. This is about three mothers. One is the first time one is been an experienced one. I don't know. And they're all meeting up. They have a 3 a.m. Shattered Moms Club and they're talking about the difficulties of motherhood. And there's a bit of a mystery as well, but it was so slow paced. I was bored out of my wits, bored out of my head. I was so bored. I DNF'd it. That's all I have to say about it. Like, there's nothing much. It was boring. It was very, very badly paced. It was very boring. It did not capture my attention. That's all I have to say about that. Another book I DNF'd is Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh. I did read her. What's that called? My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I did really like it. This one was just a little too odd for me. I said I like unhinged people, reading about unhinged people, but this main character is very unhinged. There's just a lot of body fluids and smells described that made me nauseous. So I was like, no, I don't want to read it. No. So I DNF'd it. Maybe this might be a soft DNF. I might pick it up. Maybe when I'm more mentally resilient to disgust. But I cannot do it right now. No. Okay, I think that's all I have. My friends, don't mind my bad hair and the bad angle and the bad camera quality because I'm editing right now and I just realized that I forgot to talk about one more book that I DNF'd, and that is Heidi by Johanna Spyri or Johanna Spyri. I'm not really sure. Heidi is about this young girl called Heidi who is an orphan, and she is brought to live with her grandfather in the Swiss Alps. Okay, and somewhere in between the storyline, she is taken away from her grandfather and put into a household where she's supposed to be taken care of and homeschooled, and she's supposed to keep company to the sick daughter of the household who cannot go out. So she wants some company by a fellow child. Soon they realize how homesick Heidi is for the when she Swiss Alps mountains range where she was living with her grandfather, and she misses her grandfather so much. So the head of the household, he realizes that this child is getting sick because of homesickness, and so he sends her back, and we follow the story from there. I loved the first part of it. I wanted to read this book so badly because I remember reading it when I was younger and I loved it so much. But clearly, when I was younger as well, I did not finish this. And even now, I did not finish it because I loved the part where she was with her grandfather initially. Oh God, I loved it so much. And I loved the part, it was so emotional when she sent to this household in some city that I cannot remember. And she gets really homesick and she misses her grandfather and she misses the friends that she's made there in the Swiss Alps. And it was so good. And then she's sent back. And what actually kind of put me off from reading it is how much, I mean, it's an old book, like it's a classic. And so, like, I don't think it's a very unusual thing for books to have a heavily religious undertone, overtone. I guess back in the day, but I really did not mind the initial parts where it's kind of religious. You know, I actually did not mind it in the first part of it at all. But then when she gets returned to her grandfather, and then it's almost kind of portrayed that the grandfather was wrong for giving up on his fellow humans, like giving up on living amongst them, and he goes and lives higher up on the mountains, and he doesn't go to church. So he's like, oh, how bad is he? Heidi basically tells him about God and all religion that she's learned. And he realizes, yeah, I should go and ask forgiveness from God for not going to church and for not living amongst my fellow humans. And he goes to church one day, and then everybody starts loving him. And then he's a changed man. And then, like, God forgave him, and he was changed. Like, I have nothing against people finding their way back to religion, but I just think it could have been done a little better. Like, it was just like, oh, he went to church one day and everything became really fine. If that's how it was kind of portrayed, I would have liked it for him to find God again, because of how much he missed Heidi and how much he craved human connection. So he just ventures, he tries to find some semblance of connection to life and humanity, and through that, he goes back to church and he finds God in his own way, and he, finds his way back to society. That would have been nice. I have nothing against it, but like, it was just a little too. Oh, just repent, and you'll be forgiven, and everything will be fine and dandy. So that kind of put me off a little bit, and I was like, I don't want to read it. So yeah, I just thought that was a little off, and I wanted to stop reading it. Maybe I will read. I will continue reading it sometime in the future. But I went into it for all the wholesome vibes, and my orange has gone bad. I was looking forward to eating my orange, and it's just gone bad. That's a shame. That's a shame. But so as I was saying, so that was also like a soft DNF. That is Heidi. That is also something that I don't think I hated it. Like, I just was kind of disappointed. You know, that's that. Yes, that is all I have. I've been talking forever. If you like the video, subscribe. If you like me, please subscribe. Follow me on Fable. It's Shiny's Wondrous Library on Fable as well as on Storygraph. I don't know if I have Instagram. I'm not on Instagram, guys. Don't follow me. I mean, if you can find me, do, but I'm not going to respond because I'm dead on Instagram. But do follow me on Fable and join my book club. We're reading till the end of January. We're reading Tomb of Sand by Gitanjali Shri. I'm slowly making my way through it. I am 57 pages into it, so very slowly, very slowly. That's all I think I have to say. Please subscribe, like the video, comment. Actually, let me know what if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. And what were your worst books of this year? Like, I'm very curious. Did you like any of the books that I read? And I hated? I don't think I've been like a full on hater about anything. Like, it was just, I should have put this disclaimer at the beginning. I think I will. But also, any book that you like that I did not like, it's not a personal dig at you. It's just my opinions. Reading tastes differ and people like different things. I'm sure you hate some things that I like and I hate some things that you like. It's just opinions. I'm not trying to be mean. It's no personal dig at the authors either and the people who like it either. So please be nice, please be kind, and let me know your opinions. I would love to know. I'm actually very curious. That's all. Bye. Take care until I see you next time.